Okay. So again, welcome everyone. Welcome to day 5 of Sundarban's House Express.js Bootcamp. I am Kunal. And with me today are moderator Ravi Kant, our deputy secretary. Um, so today we will be continuing with our application that we created yesterday, having completed our authentication and creating our first product. The code for the previous day is available on my repository, which I'll drop in the chat. And you must have also received it in your student emails. Yes, this one. So just clone that or pull changes from that, and we'll continue today. So let me just share my screen, and we'll go forward with our application today. Just give me a confirmation if my screen is visible.
Yeah, it's feasible.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ravi. So, okay, now we come here again in our VS Code or whatever code editor you are using. We left here yesterday. If you could see our client IDs and our client secrets, we set up our authentication here, and then further we went into our uh, router and created this uh, created this homepage where we were able to get some information. Sorry, our first page where we were able to get some information about from our MongoDB database. We also created this very important piece of a very important URL endpoint, which was called create product, and it allowed us to create any products that we like. Uh, with a certain name, a price, a photo URL, and a description. So let's continue now. And as mentioned yesterday, we let's just go over and create some extensions to this URL, or like extensions to this functionality. Yesterday, you might recall when we authenticated, we were actually redirecting the user on a success to the home page. So let's in fact create a home page, and the way we do that is just come to your views folder, make sure it's highlighted here, and click on a new file, or however you want to create a new file. Let's just call this home.ejs, and let's leave it here. Now in our index.js router, let's come below the create product router, and let's just make a slash home router if we already don't have it. I suppose we haven't made it yet. Okay, so let's just come and create a router, which should be you might be becoming familiar with this now. So let's just create another get router, and the URL endpoint would be slash home as mentioned in the success redirect. So whenever there is a successful authentication, we redirect to the home page. And further, let's create another function in this, which will be executed once we go to the slash home endpoint. And in this, again, let's just put request, response, and next. And within these curly braces, we define our function. And now inside of this, let's do one thing. Let's list all our products that are currently present on our website, or all the products which any user has posted on our website. And how would we do that? Um, we will use this same piece of code again and again, where we go to connect to our client, and retrieve our database, and in the database get a certain collection which we were using. So again, just to remind, we are now using async. Okay, so I've been postponing explaining about async a little, and now because we have some time today, I'll just go over a little on why do we keep using async and await and all of these things. So The point is, JavaScript by default is synchronous in nature. That is, it executes the program top down, and it will only move to the next block of code when the first one completes its execution. Completely completing its execution sounds like a mouthful, but this is the key. The word completely is when there is a lengthy operation which is running synchronously, that is, which is running top down. It actually blocks the application from it actually blocks the application from proceeding forward. So to counter that, we use something like async. And why would you think something called asynchronous would come into programming language? It is because on our say something like on our Instagram app, whenever you create a story, you would see, whenever you make a post or create a story or something like that, whenever you post that, you are actually redirected to redirect back to your home page, but your story actually keeps uploading, or it says that it's currently uploading, you cannot perform some other account actions or something like that. Or when you post something, then your upload keeps on loading. So your upload doesn't stop, and you can continue using that app. But imagine if Instagram was synchronous in nature, then until and unless in that upload page, if you don't finish uploading your file completely, it won't let you proceed to other app actions, which actually hampers user experience. So to encounter that, these features of an asynchronous function come into the picture. In JavaScript specifically, there is something called a promise, and a promise is, you can imagine that a function usually returns a value, some object, or maybe another function, something like that. A function returns any of those things. Now, what a promise is, a promise by its name says that um there is something which is a lengthy procedure, and to return that lengthy procedure, it will give you something like a promise which says that this is an ongoing procedure, and it promises to return you some value, but in the future, not currently, because the process might take longer than expected. So and the because it might take longer than expected, then it will not be an asynchronous task. It will keep on running in the background while your app continues to do other things. So that is something which is a promise inside of JavaScript. I'll not be able to go into a lot of depth on that specific topic. Maybe after today, you can go and read a little bit about it. I'll also mention it specifically. So the only idea which you need to get is, whenever there is a very long procedure, or a function or something which can take more time than expected, promises are used. And when promises are used, it automatically becomes a task which runs parallelly to your program. And once that happens, it automatically becomes something which is asynchronous. And to determine this what is asynchronous and what is not, for example, in a code editor like VS Code, if you just come here and hover, click on the connect function, for example, you will see this description, or this documentation about this very Mongo client.connect function. And you would see the method, and you would see all the parameters that can be taken by the function inside of these round brackets. And there is a colon, and after this colon, it says promise Mongo client, which means that okay, which means that it returns a promise. And whenever whenever a promise is returned, we want the value of this promise. That is, this Mongo client.connect function actually says that I'll take a URL, your connection string from MongoDB, and I will connect to it. But it may take some time to connect to it actually. And if you actually think about it, it makes sense, right? Because your database might take some time to connect, and while that procedure is going, I'll be a promise, and I'll return a promise, and until that promise is resolved, which is equivalent to saying until that task is finished, I will keep on saying that I am a promise. So in order to forcefully tell JavaScript to wait for a promise to finish, we use something like await. Now, inside of an asynchronous function, we know that this Mongo client.connect might take some time, because internally it is defined such that it returns a promise. But we also know that until and unless we establish connection to that very database, we cannot proceed further. So because we cannot proceed further, we use this await keyword before the function, which is returning a promise. So whenever you see a function which is returning a promise, and you want it to wait for some time, you use the keyword await. And if you just scroll a little bit above this, in our create product as well, see in our insert one, it also returns this promise, and this promise is insert one result document. So this is their own defined data types, on in using by MongoDB in their insert one function. But it again returns a promise, and because it returned a promise, we actually told the program to wait until this insertion was complete, because otherwise you would see that this insert one, if it does not happen, or if it does not happen and we already send a response back to the user, it will not be the appropriate task actually. So because we fully wanted to complete our upload before we go to the user, we use this await thing before insert one. Otherwise we might not complete our operation, and we might be redirected to another page, which can cause some issues. So we tell it to await for some time. And because this process is not very heavy, the data is only 4 fields. It doesn't actually feel like a lot is happening on the front end. So that is all for async and await. Maybe I'll attach some reference in tomorrow's mail or something, so that you can go into a little more depth and read about this async and await. Now that is once that is done, let's come and further study or further try to make this product listing on our website homepage after the user logs in to this homepage. Now let's do one thing. There is a neat function that we can use as before. Let's just write await collection. Okay, sorry. Let's declare a variable by saying var products, and which will be equal to await collection dot find. This is a function which can be used to give a filter. A filter means whenever you are finding something, or a filter is anything which you use to search in the database, and finding would definitely mean that you are searching for a very specific thing. But in our very case, we want to read all of our products that are present in the database, and we will just write find, and we will give these empty curly brackets saying that we don't want to specify any just one parameter, and we want to get all the products inside of a database. And if you just go and see the return type of this very function, so I think just clicking on it should show it. Okay, if not, then okay, right. So it returns something called a find cursor, which is a data type which we have not dealt with yet. It is an internal data type. And if we try to read through the data type, it can give us some problems inside of JavaScript. But we are familiar with all these data types, like an object, which we saw already, or we are familiar with arrays or these integers, strings, all these sort of things. But when there is a custom data type like this, which is made to operate with MongoDB, we have to do one thing. Let's put a dot again. So this is a chaining of functions which can be done, and let's again write to array, which actually converts this find cursor data return type, find cursor thing, which we are taking from the database, and then converts it into a native JavaScript array which can be iterated through. Now let's just do one thing. Let's just write res.render, and let's say home, because on when we go to our home page, we want to render something in home. And let's put a comma and load some data actually into our EJS page. As you would recall, in our home page, we loaded this data of a title and a subtitle, and then displayed if I we can go. Okay, so this one. So we loaded our title and we loaded our subtitle and showed it to the user on the home page. Now doing a similar thing, instead of doing all of this, we will just say products, which is we will say that EJS will get access to a variable called products on the front end, and the value for that thing will be an array, which will be this products variable. Let's save this for now. We have our home.ejs page and it's completely empty right now. So maybe let's just write home for now, and let's start our server and see what happens. So we'll go here and let's start our server. And okay, wait. Are there some problems? Okay, so our server was not yet started. Okay, now this works. I'm zoomed in a little, so that's why you see the text a little bigger than expected. Now again, we will go to our URL of /auth/login, I think. And it will give us options to log in into any of our accounts. We'll just select one again. And yes, we see our home has been displayed. Internally, we now have access to this products array. Now let's try logging this products array and see what do we have before we display it on the front page. And let's come here and again reload our home page. Let's see what happens. Okay, I think our server is not yet loaded. So okay. We reloaded it, and in our maybe I increase the size a little. Okay. Now you can see that here in our terminal, an array denoted by the square brackets is returned to us, and inside of it there is one object as of now, and this is the same object which we entered yesterday, which was price, which had a name chocolate, a price, photo which was empty, and this description. So this is what we entered yesterday, and this is what we are getting, but as an array. So let's actually go to our home.ejs file and populate our home with some of with these products. And you would see that previously we were directly using these variables because these were values that we already knew. Now in EJS, when we have an array to iterate, we write something which might seem a little complex for now, but I'll just tell you that it's not if you just understand the notation. So in EJS, specifically in this templating engine, when we are writing these when we are writing some logic, we give these angled brackets, and inside of these angled brackets we have these two percentage symbols, and inside of this then we can go and write our own logic. So in JavaScript specifically, how there are several ways to iterate through an array. One, for example, I'm just writing it here. One way to iterate through an array is writing products. For example, if products is an array, we can just write products dot for each, and inside of for each we can declare another function, and inside of the like we do in our router get or post routers, and inside of this we create this function thing. And what this does is, and inside in this function, if we say something called an item, then we have our iteration happening for each product of the products array. And inside of this we can say console dot log item, and it actually goes through each object that is present inside the products array. So now, applying this same logic on our front end with our EJS template, what we will do is we will say products dot for each, and let's just say it is another function with item as the parameter, and this is a function that we want to declare. Now, there is a very specific way to write these templates inside of EJS. And how will we do that? We will come down and we will close our function in a separate tag, specifically, which is written like this. So what this tells EJS to do is, in this section, in whatever goes between these two lines, this one on line 3 and this one in line 7 for now, whatever goes inside of this, we can actually we are actually going through each iteration or each item of the array. The the sorry, am I audible? Am I audible?
Yeah, yeah, you are audible now.
Okay, okay, great. So in this, what EJS allows us to do is that inside of this we have this array, and we get our access to each of the variables that are sorry, each of the objects that are present inside of that array. And when we write something like, say, we create an h5 tag for just displaying a title, and inside of this, when we write then now we use this notation for directly accessing values for EJS, and we will write something like um, item dot name. Let's create a p tag below this, and inside of it let's write item dot description. Description, yes, this thing. And let's save it and run our homepage again. And when this happens, we will see that now our homepage doesn't look very appealing, but we get these details. And to make it more apparent, let's go and create another product by saying localhost 3000 slash create product. And let's create another product, whatever we want. Let's say something called let's create a laptop, for example. And in the laptop we put the laptop price as 50,000, and we currently leave the photo empty because it doesn't matter a lot for now. And in the product description, we just write anything we want. So for example, i9 processor, something like that, 8 GB RAM, something, and let's just click submit. And once we do that, okay, now we are being presented with this working message again. It is because we programmed it to do so. Now instead what we will do is, instead of when we create our product, instead of just saying res.send working, we will do one more thing. We will do another thing. Actually, we will just instead we redirect the application to our index, our home page. And how do we do that? We just write res.redirect in our create a product post router, and we just say home. So once we create some product, we will actually be redirected back to the home page instead of just displaying the message working. Let's again go to our our create product page, and let's just create one more thing. Let's create a Samsung mobile phone, for example, something like that. Or let's just say phone, and let's say price 12,000, and let's say a description of 6.5 inch LED screen, something like that, 6.5 inch screen maybe. And let's just click submit. Now instead we should be redirected back to the home page, and now you see on our home page we are actually being displayed all of these items. And for now I'm not focusing on design too much, but let's just make this HR line inside of each product to make it more visually appealing. Let's reload again, and we will see that we have all of these products neatly segregated, and we can see that there are 3 products that are being displayed on each page now. Maybe I'll just okay, we will leave it here. And this is our home page as of now, and we are displaying the product title, the product description here. And this is being and we are displaying all products as of now. Now let's do one more thing. Let's create a delete router, or let's create a functionality to actually delete each product from our database. And how would we do that? The correct way to do deletions like this is being able to reference the product correctly inside of the database. And to do that, MongoDB already gives us this underscore ID functionality, which has this object ID, which we can use to find any of our products which we want by a unique ID. And this is already happening inside of MongoDB. It creates a unique ID for each of our entries in the database by itself, which we can use to uniquely identify a product. The point here is that when we would use a function to actually find a particular product and delete it, we cannot search the function just by its name, because 2 products might have the same name. We cannot search the product by uniquely by its price. We cannot search the product uniquely by its photo, and we cannot search the product by uniquely by its description. So the only correct way is to define a unique key with which we can identify a product, and that is we'll use the inbuilt ID system from MongoDB to actually identify our products. Now, because this happens internally inside of MongoDB, before we do that, let's load something called object ID. As you might see here, this object ID, which is referenced inside of MongoDB, is itself an instance of an object ID class. And when we want to use that, we want to import that object ID variable inside of our Express.js server. And the way we do that was similar to this. We just write require MongoDB, and after this we say object ID, and we close it here. And let's create a simple delete router. And how would we do that? We just come here and start writing router dot post. Now you might think that why a post router and why not a delete router? Like we discussed initially, there are 4 types of routers, 4 types of requests, right? One is a get request, post request, put request, and delete request. So why not a delete request? The point of doing that here is HTML doesn't support forms giving out a delete method or a put method, at least for now. HTML still only is able to send out 2 types of requests. One is a get request and one is a post request. as we saw yesterday, when we created our form for create product, there is this attribute called method inside of the form that we created, and it said method post. And if you try to change this, you will see that there is only a get request, there is only a post request. You cannot have a delete request inside of this, you cannot have a put request inside of this. There is also, like, the alternative name update is also not there. So there is only a post request and a get request, and because of that reason we will be using that very specifically to also initiate a delete requests. And how can we do something like that? Say we come down here and let's create a form. The action would be delete product / delete product, and here we will use something different. This is the first time we would be using some variable inside of our URL itself. And now how would we process that? We'll look into this later. uh, but we will say / delete product / and inside of this we will write item dot underscore id, because that is what the key is. And inside of this form we will create a button saying button submit. Okay, we forgot to mention the method here is going to be post. Inside of this submit button we will say delete product, and that's it. And if we go and reload our page, for now we should see a delete product button for each of our products here. Now let's do one more thing. We will come back to our index router and complete this post request. And as said before, if we go here a little, and if I'm able to show this, let's try to inspect element. Okay, this is one thing which I have not gone into. But if you just press F12 on your keyboard inside of Chrome, this window opens. Go to this select element icon and click on this button. And if we go right here inside of this form action, you can see that this action now says / delete product and / this long string of the unique identifier of that product. That is, we want this specific product ID to be deleted when we go to this delete product endpoint. So let's process it now. And now that we know that there should be some delete product, let's see how we would actually process it. So in our post router, let's try writing something like / delete product. And to generally define this delete product for any product ID, we will now put this colon, which would mean that this is a variable value which would depend from request to request, and we would just say product underscore ID. And again, we will now go and make this a function. The same thing with a request, a response, and a next function. And then we'll again create our function. And inside of this, let's just see what are we receiving on the backend. Here, let's just write res.send, because let's see on the front end what is happening. Let's just say you are deleting, and let's just give a plus here, and let's write request dot query dot product ID. And sorry, this is request dot params dot product ID. And request dot params basically just means that it's a way to tell Express, okay, after delete product there is this one specific parameter that we are going to have, which is a product ID. So instead, let's try printing this out whenever we press a delete product button. Let's just go here, reload our web page. We see all these delete product buttons. Let's click delete product and see what happens. Now it clearly says you are deleting this specific product ID. And this is good for us because now we have this unique identifier. Whenever we are clicking this delete product button on the front end, our backend knows that okay, this is this very specific item that we want to delete from the front page. And if we do this for another item, we basically have another product ID with us. And again, for as long as you just keep clicking delete product, you will keep on seeing what we are trying to delete. So now let's just, instead of just saying that you are deleting this product, let's actually delete this product from our database and redirect back to the home page. And how do we do that? It's again the very same process. We'll just go and copy this client and say that okay, and again this we again have this await. We'll again write asynchronous function here, and we again get a reference to our client. We again fetch our database. We again go to our collection products, and inside of this we again write await collection. Now this time we will use the delete one function, and inside of delete one we have to reference the product ID, the product inside of MongoDB. And if we just try using the string of product ID, it will not be able to access it. It is because the ID in MongoDB is actually stored as a instance of the object ID class, which basically means that a new object ID, this instance of a class, is not exactly equal. It is not equal to just the string of project ID. So to match both of the values, we would need to filter it by writing underscore ID colon, and then after that we would need to write a new object ID, which we declared above here. We declared it here, this object ID, and saying object ID request dot params dot product ID. This is what we have, and when we try deleting it, okay, sorry, not a semicolon here. When we try deleting it, it should do so, and once that happens, we send a redirect to our home page. Again, we just say redirect to the home page. Let's try doing this now. Let's try deleting this new product that we created. Maybe we created it by mistake or something. Let's try clicking on delete. Let's see what happens. We are redirected again to the home page, and one of our products has been deleted from the database. And all we have here is these two products now. Now let's do one more thing. Now instead, let's try implementing some logic using middlewares, which we missed out, which we were about to cover. So as you might be able to see, we are closely nearing all of the CRUD operations. We now have a router to create our products, that is using create product. On our home page, all our products are displayed, so we are reading all the products. And now we have this delete product functionality, so we are actually now able to delete all of the products as well. Sorry, not all of the products, any one product which we decide to from our database. So we have our create, read, and delete functionalities. We'll get into update tomorrow. Let's postpone it a little. That would be the last step, which you can even maybe try out yourselves. It will be very similar to how this interaction with delete product happens, and how we created the product. It is going to be the same form with some preset values which we are going to fetch, which will continue tomorrow. So it is going to be literally just 80% or 90% similar thing on what we have right now. So instead, let's try doing one thing. one specific functionality which I think we might not have we might have missed out on is actually doing a logout of the user. And to log out, it is also pretty simple. Let's just go in our index.js page again. Let's just say get slash logout to actually log the user out of our database. And let's again call a function with request, response, and the next function. And let's say res dot, okay, sorry, request dot logout, and this has to be a function uh, which should just say console dot log logged out successfully. I think if we just try and go and run this function, and we try going on the slash logout URL, we are basically sending a get request to the logout URL. Once we do that, okay, it says logged out successfully, but we are not doing anything with the request. So just let's write res dot redirect, and let's give a slash to the root URL. And now let's again try doing that, and we should be back to our home page. And to make our lives a bit easier, on our index.ejs page, let's just uh, include this one button for slash auth slash login, which we can use to login user. If we create this on our home page, we will have this button or this a tag, and if we click on it, we will go through our sign in process. And let's now try logging in with another user, and let's see what happens. We are here, but if you remember, in our database, actually now we are another user basically. And okay, let's print that as well. Let me do one thing on our home page. Now currently we don't know who is our user and who is not. So when we are let's come to our home page, and let's supply another parameter. um, let's write var user is equal to request dot user, uh, and let's supply one more parameter to our home page saying a user is user. And on our home page, on the top we will say user logged in, and this will be user dot user dot name, I guess. And if we reload our home page, we should get, okay, this is, it says user logged in object. Let me see, I think let's log our object right here and see what is happening, why it says an object. This basically means so the current error which we are facing currently is not showing our user. Actually it is because we are trying to print an object directly, which cannot happen straight away. So instead we are getting this object thing. So it says that username is user.name is an object. So let's try printing that and see to what we are getting inside of the console. Okay, we get this very thing with name, and okay, name is itself an object which we should change actually. It should be display name. Okay, we will change and we'll change it later. Let's just write user.email for now, to get rid of all the confusion for now. And let's reload it again. It says this very specific Gmail ID, but remember we did not create all these products with this very specific Gmail ID. Then we shouldn't be able to delete all these products in the first place, right? So this is where the concept of middleware comes in. So like if I just go here currently, if anybody has any doubts, you can tell. Otherwise, should we connect? Should we continue with middlewares today? Because it is one more important topic to implement all this logic. Just give a thumbs up if we can continue with this middlewares topic. Thumbs up. Just a thumbs up. Because we have 10 minutes more and I don't see doubts for now, so let's just continue. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we'll continue for now, and let me tell why would we need middlewares in something like this, maybe for now, or not even middlewares for now, just implementing basic logic for our for our application. Okay, so for example, when we are logged in with this very specific user, we don't know if our current application, all these products are posted by this user or not. And that is one thing which is a shortcoming from my end. So basically what we didn't log while creating the products is which user is creating these products. That is one very important thing which we are missing out on. And how do we do that? Let's change up our create product router a little. Instead, inside of our create product router, uh, when we are logging all of this, let's just log one more important thing and say it is let's say it is the email, and how would we receive that email is by writing request dot user, which contains this particular object, and request dot user dot email. This would become very important by knowing that who is the creator of this very specific listing on the website, so that we can actually compare it against all the requests and actually determine if uh, if the user who is trying to delete a particular listing, is it the user who created it or not. If not, then there's no point, right? I can go and delete all the listings from the website, which would not be a good design decision. Like so to now do that, we now would have to come here and let's delete all of our products. Let's hit delete on this one, and let's delete this one as well. Now we have nothing to display. Now again, to make our lives easier now as well, let's now here let's just say uh, create product. I'm really not focusing on HTML right now. Let's just say slash create product, and let's just write create product here so that it's a URL which we can refer to. Let's reload our page again. Okay, so maybe we'll just write br here and br here, and if we reload it now, it should look a bit cleaner. Okay, so let's let's write product name. Let's again make this laptop, now it is 60,000. Let's leave product photo empty for now. Or maybe okay, we can include any image as we want. So one way to search up for any image, for example, is let's go to some website. I'm just using Unsplash. Go to any image website basically. Let's click on any of their let's search for a laptop image here and see what comes up. Let's just say this one, and let's right click and open image in a new tab. Then we get this URL here. Let's copy this URL and paste it here. This is just one way to get image hosted somewhere else on our website. We'll just don't worry about the logic for now. And inside of the product description, let's just write this again, the same thing, i9 processor, 8 GB RAM, and let's click submit. Now what will happen is we get this information, right? But let's try going into our database here in our MongoDB database. Let's go to our MyDB and products. Let's see what our document. and this document now contains our email address of the user which created it. Now this becomes very important because we want this information of the user who created this to not let other users abuse this not let other users abuse this feature of deleting other products. And how do we do that? Let's come back to our index.js router, and once we scroll down, um, let's do this. When we are trying to do delete one, um let's comment this out for now. Let's not do this for now, and let's also comment the redirect for now, because let's log some things and we'll check what is happening. So we have this thing of say instead of sending it works or sending a redirect, let's try sending the current user and the owner of the product. So now we will do something like, say, the the owner is basically the one who created the product listing. So instead I'll just use the creator is, and we'll just use uh, collection. Okay, so we don't have the product ID as of now, so we will do something like where product is equal to await collection dot find one, and in find one, let's make a filter of a function what we want to find. It will be the same as what we created here, so it will be underscore id is new object id, and request dot params dot product id. This way we get our product that we want, and inside of this product, actually now we have access to the product dot email. This is what we can do. Okay, it gives us some basic error. Okay, so this is what we can write. Okay, uh, it says there is some error here. I think if we save it, it should go away. Okay, it does. So we say the creator is this, and let's just again write this. This might look a little untidy, but we will say current user is, and we'll again write these things. Now we will say request dot user dot email. So this way we can match if the correct user is trying to delete it or not. Let's reload our page and let's try deleting the product. What we see here is the creator is this, and current user is this. Now let's try doing one thing. Let's log out, right? Let's just say log out, and let's again click on login user and use another ID to log in. Let's say just this one. And once we do so, let's try clicking on delete product now. But you will see it says the creator is this and current user is this. So to solve this situation, and we now have these two variables which we can compare. So instead, let's do this thing. Let's compare these two, saying, uh, can you delete it, and plus this thing, and it will give us a true. It should give us a true or false answer. Let's try reloading it again, and it says false. You cannot delete it because we are using another ID to access this very particular ID, and if we don't have access if we basically are not the same user who created the product, we cannot delete it. And instead, let's just go here, go to the logout router, and again log in our user, and let's say the same user who created the product. Now let's try. Let's again go and try deleting the product. It will give us. Okay, it again says false. I wonder why is that. Okay, just a moment. Um, Okay, it says product.email is equal to, let's try doing this. There might be some problems with our string checking methods actually. It again gives us false. uh, okay, our current our current email is the same as this one, and our request.user email is also the same. Maybe let's just try printing this out, this one, and I think this should solve it. Okay, yes. JavaScript is funny with um, changing data types, and we were maybe trying to convert a string into a boolean, so it gave us false every time. So yes, this user can now delete the delete this very specific product. And how do we check that again? It is just, we are just one if statement away now. And let's replace this res.send by saying if product email is equal to request.email, and let's write this like this, and let's just say let's just paste all of this inside of our if statement, so that if our user is true, if this is true, then we will be delete and redirect the user back to home. If not, let's just say res dot send, you don't have permissions to delete this file. Let's just write this. Let's again reload our page. Let's go back, reload our page once more, and let's now log out and try if our other our logic is working or not. Let's try logging with our another with our other ID, and let's try deleting this. It says you don't have permissions to delete this file, which means it is working perfectly fine now. Now again, let's log out, log in again with the user that we had created. And now this when we click delete product, it should delete the product for us, which means that our permissions which this means that we are correctly able to identify if this current user is the person who created the product. And all of this is happening, this all this that you see, the reason that we are able to check for this request.user.email is because passport.js is sending this particular setting this particular cookie for us. So this is the reason that um our Express server is able to check for this and compare it with the product dot email, whoever created that. And now we can implement this. Just one last thing before we close our session. I'll just write a very small middleware now. Now, why the reason for middlewares, or what happens is, let's try logging out, and now instead of just logging in, let's just try to go to home. Okay, it now says that it's an error, but let me just solve. Let me just change it by saying okay, if we go to home. Um, if I'll just say if user is undefined, undefined, just a moment. If it says user is undefined, then we will set user as an empty object with name blank and email blank, and say that it is a guest maybe. And Let's try again reloading our homepage. You would see that we still are able to log in as we still are able to access the website without ever be, logging into the website. We also have these options to create this product and it will work. So how do we change all of this? How do we check if a particular user is logged in and we want to do it on each request or some specific endpoint, so that we know that okay, if this is a logged in user, um, then only can we proceed with our page, or can we proceed with our request. Now the way to do this is that we write something called middlewares in Express. And how do these middlewares work? As you would see, this router, for example, says router.get /home, and we then move on to our next function, which executes all of our logic right here. And once our logic is executed, um, we return some home page. We then return the home page. Now, a middleware is basically, it allows us to execute any number of functions before executing the very final function of our request, which is rendering the home page. The way to do that is you can really just come here and write any number of functions which you want. So instead of just two parameters inside of the get request, now we can write function again. This also has the request, result, and next functions associated with it. And we can again execute any logic inside of this if we want, and this becomes a unique function in itself if we want. Um, let's do one thing. So when we go to our home page, let's try and execute. Let's try and check if this current user is authenticated. And how do we do that? We use a neat feature which Passport.js allows us to do, is saying, let's log this. Let's just say request dot is authenticated. And if the user is logged in, this will give us a true value. And if this gives us a true value, then only we can move on to the next request. If not, we will redirect the user back to the home page. And let's just reload this for now. And because we are a guest, let's just try reloading this page once and see what gets updated in our home page. Okay, sorry. So this says false. If we come to our console.log, it says false here. Now, how do we check this? And now this and like, how do we implement this? Let's just say if. Now instead of just logging it, let's say if request is authenticated. Let's write this function saying just forward the request. That is the next function which we have been writing is the most useful in middlewares, because as you see, middlewares become this long chain of functions which can be executed. This can be 2 or 3 or 4 or even 10 functions executed one after the other when we go on the /home URL. Let's just write if request is authenticated, then we will forward the request by using next, and then tell the application to move on to this particular function and execute the rest of the code. If it is not authenticated, we'll just write else, and then we will just say res.redirect / to the home page. We'll redirect to the very first page of our application. Let's try let's try reloading our homepage again and see. We are always redirected back to our index page. We can try going over this any amount of times. It will keep on redirecting us again and again back to our index page. Because our requests are not authenticated, we cannot access that part of the application. But this was just a way to show that request is authenticated works and a middleware works. But in an application, for example, like some OLX or something, you would actually see in practicality that this is not the case. You are actually able to view all of the listings on a product website very clearly without even logging in ever. So one last thing which we'll do for the day is cut paste that middleware, not here, but we'll do something like whenever our post request for this create product is done, let's put a comma here and paste this middleware here, saying that whenever somebody tries creating a product using an unauthenticated ID, let's just redirect them back to the home page for now. Let's keep it more simple that way. Um, uh, and we will now okay, so maybe to give a more clear indication, let's just write res.send. You are not authenticated. You are not authenticated. Let's just write this, and we'll copy this middleware again to our delete request as well, and let's write it here also. So once that is done, we'll try reloading our, we'll try again going to our homepage, and this time it should load because there is no middleware checking if our request is authenticated or not. Let's try clicking on create product. Our form opens up. The form opens up because our get request doesn't have this middleware. If you just scroll up and see, our get request is simply forwards the request to this function, and it renders the create product page for us. But the post request, when this page this URL receives a post request, then this middleware will surely run. And once that runs, I'll show what happens. Now let's just try doing anything which we want. um, uh, and let's try clicking on submit. Once we do that, it would say you are not authenticated. It is because of the middlewares that we have inserted manually in each of these endpoints, and it will keep on happening. We will always go through these middlewares no matter what the request is, and we will not allow any unauthenticated user to actually create products on our website. So that is the case, and because we are out of time now, when and you can just I'll update the code. You can just try going and creating a product as well. And once you create a product, and we are currently out of products basically, so when you create the product as well, and you go and try to delete it, you will again receive the same message saying you are not authenticated. It is because of all these middlewares that happen here. And now there is one thing which we'll do tomorrow. We have our update product we have our update product router to set up, and tomorrow and hopefully if we are able to do that tomorrow, we will now clean up our code a little bit. It is because we cannot be pasting this function every time over and over again. It will make our code a lot more messy than it already is, and instead we will actually create separate files for this login check middleware, and use a single variable name instead of this function to actually make our code look a lot cleaner and avoid all this copy pasting each and every time. So that's it for today. We'll end here, and tomorrow we will, as I said, we'll go over our so we'll go over our, just a moment, I'll stop sharing. So again, we will go over our update page. We will go over our middlewares and segment the site a lot more. And once that happens, that is on day 6. Maybe we'll then try going a little into the front end part, and in the last 2 days in whatever time we get, we'll try to clean up our website based on our front end, and hopefully by the end of it, we have our very own product listing website where we can display all these products. We also have not displayed the images yet. We will move we will move to that part later. We will move to that part tomorrow when we try making the front end a lot better. We will basically be using Bootstrap for our front end for now, and once we do that, our final product or final website would be ready. So thank you all. Thank you for attending. Just react with a thumbs up or something, so I know that it went well for you. I think we have just one question. Okay, no questions here. If you understand, it's fine. Okay. Any questions you can ask? If not, then let's move on till tomorrow. uh, and again, maybe no specific tasks for today, as we are just ending our sessions now, and maybe by tomorrow and day after tomorrow we will just clean up our backend and work on our front end, and the code will be updated on the repository. Just pull it from there, or clone it again, or if you haven't already. So that's all. Thank you all again. Thank you very much for attending. Hopefully you are understanding what we did, and you are able to get a taste of what Express is.
Thank you, Kunal Bhaiya, for giving us such a wonderful session.
Thank you, Ravi. Thank you for
And thank you,
moderating.
audience,
Thank
for
you.
yeah. Bye, everyone. Good night.
Good night.